Right guys, Apple's finally teased the upcoming M5 MacBook Pro launch. Something powerful is coming, according to Greg, and so that is a clear indicator that new MacBooks are on the horizon. Now this aligns with another report we got recently, saying that Apple's preparing to launch the new M5 MacBook Pro before the higher end M5 Pro and M5 Max models. Their sources, who reportedly have direct knowledge of macOS Tahoe development and internal hardware testing, say this M5 powered MacBook Pro is nearing release, and Apple's been running tests with an unreleased macOS 26.0.2 builds, suggesting the launch could be imminent. But here's where things get interesting. The report says a 14-inch and 16-inch M5 Pro and M5 Max MacBook Pros are now planned for early 2026, running macOS 26.3 out of the box. That timeline matches Apple's internal beta cycle perfectly. Apple's usually testing a 0.3 version around now, and the public release usually is in Jan. So if you've seen rumors flip-flopping between late 2025 and early 2026 for these Macs, this may explain why, because it's technically both. The M4 MacBook Pro and iPad Pro are currently facing major availability issues. Gurman notes that many configurations at Apple retail stores are constrained, with online delivery estimates now slipping to between October 21st and 28th. That's not a random date because the back-to-school offer in Europe ends on October 21st too. Historically, Apple often times its product refreshes right around the end of these promotions, keeping its product lineup fresh heading into the holiday season. So all signs are pointing towards the next M5 MacBook Pro launching sometime around that same week, most likely on the 21st or the week commencing on the 20th. Interestingly, there are no shipping delays for the higher-end 14-inch and 16-inch models running the M4 Pro and M4 Max chips, which remain available. That's a strong indication that Apple's about to quietly refresh the entry-level model with the M5 chip this year, while keeping the Pro Max versions for next year. And this timing lines up almost perfectly with what we've seen elsewhere, because FCC documents that were accidentally made public this week may have just blown the cover off Apple's next MacBook Pro. Apple usually likes to keep these filings under wraps, but the FCC just went ahead and published the details early anyway. Inside the filings, there's a reference to a new MacBook Pro with the model identifier A3434. Based on everything we know, this is almost certainly the new 14-inch MacBook Pro running the M5 chipset. Now here's why this is a big deal. FCC filings like this are usually one of the final steps before a product goes public. Apple can't sell devices without regulatory approval, so once a product hits the FCC, it means mass production is either already underway or about to be. In other words, this leak tells us the M5 MacBook Pro isn't just in development, it's basically ready for release. Now let's pause for a second. If you enjoyed these deep dives into Apple's upcoming products, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the new hype button. It really helps a small channel like mine reach more Apple fans, and you'll never miss my latest Apple breakdowns, leaks, and launch analysis. Alright, back to the Mac. The documents don't reveal much in terms of design or internal specs, but one small detail stands out. They reference Wi-Fi 6E only, with no mention of Wi-Fi 7. That doesn't automatically rule out Wi-Fi 7 support. Sometimes the FCC only tests specific bands or modes, but it does hint that Apple might be saving Wi-Fi 7 for next year's Pro and Max models. If you were hoping the M5 MacBook Pro would be Apple's first Wi-Fi 7 laptop, these filings do suggest a more conservative update this time round. Now here's where things get interesting. Gurman's previous Power On newsletter hinted the new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros would enter mass production between late 2025 and early 2026. But that referred to the high-end M5 Pro and M5 Max versions, not the M5. With this new information, it's clear Apple's taken the same staggered approach it did with the M2 series, launched the entry-level model first, then follow up later with the powerful ones once production yields are stable. And this time there's a very specific reason for that delay, one that has nothing to do with marketing and everything that has to do with architecture. The upcoming M5 Pro and M5 Max chips will most likely feature an entirely new design with separated CPU and GPU blocks, giving Apple the flexibility to mix and match configurations more freely. For example, customers could choose a model with a maxed out GPU and a base level CPU, or vice versa, depending on their workflow. It's a more modular approach that offers a better balance between performance, thermals, and cost. The base M5 chip, however, won't be getting any of this new chip tech or design language. It's using the same unified structure we've seen from the M1 through the M4, which explains why Apple can release it earlier. The M5 Pro and Max though, those require new engineering, testing and validation, which naturally pushes their timeline back into early 2026. In short, Apple's not rushing those because they represent the start of a new chip era, while the M5 remains the last of the current one. If you think about it, this strategy makes perfect sense. Apple doesn't want to flood its assembly lines with 3 chip variants at once, especially if TSMC is still scaling up production of the new 3nm nodes the M5 series is built on. Launching the base model first gives Apple time to smooth out production issues, meet end-of-year demand, and keep the Mac lineup fresh heading into 2026. This also keeps Apple's October tradition alive. Over the years, the company's used October as a quiet launch window for its Mac lineup, sometimes skipping a full event and dropping press releases instead. We saw this with the M3 MacBook Pros and iMac in late 2023, so if this M5 MacBook Pro does drop around October 21st, expect something similar, a simple "Available Now" announcement on Apple's newsroom page, followed by immediate retail availability. Now let's talk about what this actually means for buyers. Should you jump on the M5 MacBook Pro when it arrives later this month? Honestly, it depends on what you value the most. If you're upgrading from an Intel MacBook or something like the M1 MacBook Pro, then yes, you'll see massive gains in performance, efficiency, and battery life. But if you already own an M2 or M3 machine, the improvements might not be enough to justify a full upgrade. The M5 chip itself is expected to focus heavily on GPU improvements. Based on early benchmarks from the M5 iPad Pro, we could be looking at around 30 to 35% faster graphics compared to the M4, with small but decent CPU gains. Apple's clearly prioritizing graphics performance and AI acceleration with this generation, so if you're a creative user who works with video rendering, motion graphics, or 3D workflows, you'll benefit. But for everyday activities, the difference might be subtle. Ultimately, I think the best part about the M5 MacBook Pro launching is that it's going to make the already great M4 model even cheaper. And that brings up a key point: design. Don't expect any big external changes with the M5 MacBook Pro. Apple's likely going to reuse the existing 14-inch chassis, the same mini LED display, the same port layout, same keyboard, etc. This refresh is about what's inside, not how it looks. The real design overhaul with OLED displays and thinner bodies is still on track for the M6 generation, which should arrive in late 2026 or early 2027. That's where things start to get truly exciting. OLED is going to be a transformative upgrade for the MacBook range. If you've seen the M4 iPad Pro in person, you will know how stunning Apple's double-stacked OLED panels look, with deeper blacks, punchier colors, and far better contrast than mini LED. The display quality alone will make the future MacBook Pro feel like a completely new experience. And beyond image quality, OLED also enables thinner and lighter designs. We've already seen Apple return to its obsession with thinness through the M4 iPad Pro and iPhone Air, both ultra-slim devices that prove Apple can chase thinness responsibly this time. Back in 2016, the company pushed thinness too far with the butterfly keyboard era, sacrificing durability, travel, and even ports. But now, with the more efficient chips and advanced battery tech, Apple can reduce thickness without those same compromises. Speaking of battery tech, the silicon carbon batteries Apple's reportedly working on are another huge piece of the puzzle. These batteries can store more energy in a smaller cell, meaning Apple could shrink the physical battery while maintaining or even improving runtime. It's the same kind of innovation that allows ultra-thin Android phones to pack 6,000 mAh batteries. Combine that with OLED's efficiency and Apple Silicon's low power draw, and you get a MacBook that's thinner, lighter, and still lasts 18 to 20 hours per charge. Now, while the M5 generation might not bring major design shifts, it's still part of the bigger transition that leads to them. Every step Apple takes with these incremental updates is laying groundwork for the OLED redesign, optimizing thermals, refining the chassis, and improving battery management. The M5 models are the bridge between the M4 era and the OLED future. Zooming out, it's clear Apple's Mac strategy is evolving. The company's learned that it doesn't need to rush out every chip to every device simultaneously. Instead, it's spacing them out strategically, keeping every quarter relevant with new hardware drops. The M5 MacBook Pro this month will anchor Q4, the M5 Pro Max will kick off 2026, and then the redesigned OLED models will cap off the next cycle. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Will you be buying the M5 MacBook Pro this month, or are you holding out for the OLED model next year? Let me know down below, and if you made it this far, thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the new hype button. It really helps a small channel like mine grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.